Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about Microsoft Azure containers and Microsoft Azure and containers. By book definition, it's a standard unit of software, and a container is a standard unit software that packages up code and all dependencies into so that applications can run quickly and reliably from one computing environment to another. And containers are a form of operating system virtualization. Now we know that virtualization is we know of server virtualization where we have virtual machines that are sitting on a hypervisor, and then in each virtual machine you can run each applications. So here, but containers are all about application deployment application. So the idea behind container is to have a very light backend environment for an application, so that application can run very fast and can load up quickly. So that's the idea behind the containers. Here in the picture here you can see before the introduction of hypervisor or virtualization, applications were installed on a physical server. So this is hardware operating system, and on one physical server you can have many applications as you like. But the problem in this case was that if one application is eating up all of the resources, then the other two applications were not able to get enough resources. So that led to that was one of the motives to led to the invention of hypervisor or virtualization. Now in virtualization, what happened on top of hardware, there was an operating system, and then we have a hypervisor layer, and within hypervisor we can divide equally use of CPU and memory among virtual machines, and each virtual machine will have an operating system, and inside you can have applications inside. So that was one way of doing it, but this cost the server an overhead of an additional operating system and then additional use of resources to run the application. Now containers are like a virtual operating system. Here we have a hardware operating system, and instead of a hypervisor there are container runtimes, and on top of container runtime we can build a container that can use so container is a very very lightweight virtualization where you don't have an overhead of operating system. So operating system is not required in containers. So with this quick introduction, let's see that how we can build containers in the lab. So I'm going to log into Microsoft Azure, and within Microsoft Azure I'm going to build a simple container instance. So in order to build a simple container instance, you need to search for the word container, and so container instance. So in a container instance, all we need to do is to create a new container. So I'm going to show you how to create container in few different ways, how to use containers in the real environment. So here I'm going to just I'm building a container instance. Now when you build a container instance, you obviously need a resource group, and then name of the container, I'm going to name it demo container 001, and in here, whenever we build a container, so this is a container instance. It's like a virtual machine, but it doesn't need an operating system. What it needs is an image. So image, a container image on. So image is basically your application that is it's your web application. It can be your any application or any microservice that is part of this image. In this case, I'm going to just use a quick start image. It's just a sample image that will be used to run the container to see that how the container runs. But there are other two ways that I will be showing you later on in another video. So for now we're gonna use quick start image, and in here the image automatically selected is ACI Hello World application for Linux, and the size of the container is 1 vCPU, 1.5 GB of memory. You can change the size, and nothing else is required. I'm going to create the container. So container, Microsoft has so when working with container, there are two things that we need to remember, and that is number one is container instance, the other one is container registry. So container instance is that has the image, whereas container registry is where you can store the registry. So basically, in other words, this is the disk where the images will be stored, and you can always load the image in the instance in the container instance, and from where where you can run the container. So basically this is the operating system. This is so this is the instance, and inside instance the image is running. And where are you getting the image? The images are stored in the container registry. Now images can be stored in container registry, or they can be you can get these images from public repositories as GitHub or Azure repository, and there are others. There are other ways to get the image as well, but in Azure, if you need to store the image, you can use container registry. Let's see how our container is going. So container is installed, and now in order to just check the container, just like all of the other Azure resources, you can see that there are all these different type of resources here. In order to in order to just check if the container is working, you can restart stop a container just like a virtual machine. In order to see how you can work with a container, I'm going to copy this public IP address and paste it here, and we can remove the word public and run the container. So the container is installed, it's working, and we can see this image, that this image is basically, this picture is coming from the container image that is running in the background, which is basically a very simple web application. So in this video we've seen that how to work with a container and you can start a container in few minutes. Basically you just create a container and attach an image. At this point we're using just a sample image, and in another video I'll show you how to bring another image, how to bring any other image into container registry, and then use that image to deploy a container. Thank you for watching this video.